In a reckless attempt to overcompensate for sleeping on an air mattress for almost 2 years, I have set out to build all of my bedroom furniture. I've already built a bed, so today we build one nightstand. This build is made up of scraps from some built-in bookshelves I made about a year ago, so the dimensions were governed by what I had to work with. This cherry ply was about 10 inches wide, so that determined the depth of the nightstand. After cutting the sides down on the miter saw, I pinned the two pieces together with a few brad nails. That curve you saw me draw before I acted like it was my first time seeing a nail gun was for a little scoop out in the front of the nightstand. This I cut out with the bandsaw, and I accidentally filmed this in slow motion, so unfortunately the viewer is robbed of the abundance of squeaking and squealing that is typical with my bandsaw. I briefly fooled around with a tape measure and my two cut pieces before deciding it was time to go mess some things up on the table saw. So I put in the dado blade and proceeded to wildly and recklessly cut grooves in my two boards.
Oh, I think I did that wrong.
Yes, indeed, I cut that wrong. Rather than cutting two pieces that mirrored each other, I cut two pieces exactly the same. Shonda Rhimes, who is still alive, once said, "You can waste your life drawing lines, or you can live your life crossing them." And I opted for the second option, paying no mind to the line I had just traced from my good board. Stuck in a corner of crossed lines, I had no choice but to nip off a bit of the good board to make it match the poorly cut one. After that, it was back to the dado blade sawdust blizzard to cut the correct groove on the new piece and then cut another groove on both pieces. The top groove is for a drawer support and the bottom groove is for a lower shelf. This will all make sense once I glue it up, but before I do that, it was important to smooth out the curves with slightly Asian jazz and my spindle sander. Albert Einstein, who died April 18, 1955, is known for plenty of clever things he said and did during his lifetime. But he is perhaps most famous of all for saying, "In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity." That applies to me here. My difficulty? Cutting my dados way too tight. My opportunity? Getting to try my hand at a woodpecker impression using a hammer. The great thing about having really tight dados is once they were fully set, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for the assembly to be out of square. However, the downside was that it was very hard to crush the shelf and the drawer supports into the side dados. I ended up using a pipe clamp on one corner because no amount of woodpecker impressions would knock it into place. After it was all assembled, I checked to make sure it was in fact square, and then let it rest so that the glue could dry comfortably. Inspired by the wise words of Maxwell Maltz, I decided this piece may as well have a bottom drawer too, so I pinned these little runners on the very bottom of the stand. Maltz, who died on April 7th, 1975, said, "Emptiness is a symptom that you are not living creatively." So here we are, filling previous emptiness with usefulness just so that a plastic surgeon who doubled as a self-help guru, who has been deceased for some 51 years, doesn't have space to think I'm not being creative. Iron-on edge banding is one of the things of all time. What a clever and useful little product. What a unique and enjoyable application process. What better way to hide plywood layers, to elevate your craft, and to promote inclusiveness in woodworking tools than to use a household clothing iron in the workshop. I had never applied edge banding to an inside curve before, and it showed. The sharp corners of my iron ended up denting and scuffing the band in more places than one. Luckily, all this sanded out later. Something I didn't notice until editing this was that my iron is Black & Decker. Black & Decker is the parent company for plenty of power tools in my shop. DeWalt, Stanley, Craftsman, Boss Stitch, Porter Cable, and Irwin Tools are all owned by none other than Black & Decker. So this iron fits right in. I am a ping pong ball when it comes to what I actually do for work. While most people just go sit in an office and pull up a spreadsheet on a computer, sit through a useless meeting or two, crush Instagram reels on their phone hiding inside of an office cubicle, and then go home, I actually do things. When people ask, I usually tell them I'm a carpenter, but people have no idea what this actually means, and sometimes I don't even know. Sometimes I'm doing new construction, hardwood trim work, or framing houses for people whose bank accounts and days on this earth have way more numbers than mine do, and the budget is the least of their concerns. I take my sweet time and make sure that things are done in the best way possible. But other times, I'm doing small home renovation projects in houses 5 times as old as I am for people who have similar budgets and days on earth as I do. And then it is less about perfection and more about getting it done in an acceptable and budget-friendly way. It can be hard to transition the level of focus and perfection I should use based on the project I am on. I am learning that even though everything technically can be walnut, sometimes painted pine is more than enough to get the job done right. That is how I felt with these drawers. I could have spent days cutting fancy joinery and making the whole thing a really big process. But instead I just threw together a plywood box because it served a purpose and looked acceptable. A question of no small importance when building things is, how much will this be seen? For the drawer boxes, they will only be visible when the drawer is open, which realistically is probably only once or twice a night when I need to reapply sunscreen. The drawer fronts, however, will be visible all the time, so I threw the full force of my efforts at making that look nice. Milling down rough lumber is something that happens in basically all of my projects, and it can get pretty monotonous and boring to do, let alone to watch. It's also tricky because my milling machines are really unbalanced. My joiner is huge and a delight to use, my planer is a pretty standard, slightly underpowered lunchbox that gets the job done, and my table saw has taken more of a beating in the last 10 years than the New York Jets. 3 years ago, when epoxy slab tables were still in style, a very young and probably very foolish me built 3 epoxy slab tables for a young gentleman who was very excited to commission me for them. That was a pivotal moment in my woodworking career because it was, and still remains, one of the only times that this hobby has produced a livable wage. And the only reason that happened was because me and this gentleman very poorly communicated on the front end, and he thought he was getting 3 tables for $2,600, and I thought he was giving me $2,600 per table. I ended up barely proving that he was the one that misunderstood the situation, and he very generously paid my price, rather than his price without much of an incident. That was a funny project for me because even though I had made good money for the first time, it was the first time that I was just not in the mood to build any more things. I had taken on that project as a 17-year-old who was just bumbling around chasing cash and the approval of the client, and the passion just was not there. When I did the epoxy pour for the big table, the genius that I am decided to pour it at like 11 o'clock at night, and it leaked all over the place. I fought with keeping the unstoppable flow of epoxy in the mold for the next 8 hours. And I remember being on like hour 5 or so with no clear end in sight and laying down on the floor for a brief rest and thinking, I am not enjoying this. That was a really interesting debut into being an adult for me, and I'm still recovering and trying to find a balance of doing things because I am passionate about them versus doing things because they earn me money. Leasing this shop, I initially thought I was doing it in the hunt for money with grand plans of revamping an online store to sell wooden earrings. That bold, confusing, and lofty plan was about as successful as the maiden voyage of the Titanic. And yet here I am for the first time finding that passion again after a long 3 years of confusion between passion and cash. This nightstand is something I am genuinely excited and proud to make. and it is wonderful to build furniture how I want for myself. I'm getting excited to build a walnut dining table too, and that will be my first ever table since the incident. However, sometimes passion still requires cash, and I am paying no small sum to lease this shop space. I've already committed to like 5 more months in this space, but after that I have to decide if it's still worth it to pay almost $650,000 a month to lease this place. Now, why am I saying all this? Because you, the viewer, can help. I currently am over 1,000 subscribers, past the monetization threshold, but still over 200 watch hours short. If just 3 of you dedicate your lives to watching mediocre woodworking content non-stop for the next 2 months, I will be able to monetize my channel, immediately quit my job, and live my life in wealth and fame fully funded by my wildly successful YouTube career. For too long I have hid in the shadows, fearing the danger and the power of the router, reserving that terrifying tool to tasks too necessary to avoid, roundovers and flush trim cuts. But this year, this is my year. This is the year I take back the power from that crotch-level creation. This is the year that I expand the boundaries of what is and is not possible with a router. Here is a fair warning. If you are squeamish, you might want to look away. What I'm about to do will strike fear into the strongest of hearts, the wisest of woodworkers. I am going to glue this top down and not apply any clamps. No heavy objects, just the power of the glue to forever hold this top on. But no, even I, with my newfound power in the router community, am not strong enough. I caved and weighed it down with 3 pieces of sandpaper. Roll the jazz, it's time to finish this thing. Well, that is the end of the video. There will be a subscribe button on the bottom right, and then I have 2 video suggestions for you. The first is the bed that I built that matches this nightstand, and if you've already watched that, might I suggest a video from back in the day in which I build a patchwork standing desk. Until next time, take it easy.